Straight up. Just go out to L.A. The new anthem.
California
Love Part 2.
One time.
To live and die in L.A.
West side, west side, west side.
To live and die in L.A., where everybody try to fatten they pocket. So many hustle for the cash, so it's hard to knock it. Everybody got their own thing, currency chasing. Worldwide through the hard times, worrying faces. Shed tears as we bury brothers close to heart. What was a friend now?
Well, hello. God bless your community family. I was just taking a moment to admire this beautiful view we brought to you tonight with all these beautiful ladies here to share some talk with you and see if we can come to some kind of understanding so things will work better for us as a people. Mm-hmm. So God bless you and welcome to Gang Talk. And if we look a little different, we are a little different because Skip, if you watched the show last week, you know that our longtime co-host Skip Townsend has gone off to another level to do other things, and the big joke is he's going back in the lockup. Okay, and that's the funny part because he's going in this time not in handcuffs, actually going in to be a mentor to the men that are in lockup. Wow. And it shows you how powerful his walk has been since he came back in his right mind. So we are just so proud of Skip.
Circle.
Yes, we are so proud of him and so happy that he's able to show our community that there is recovery after the madness. So we want Skip to continue being the blessing that he became when he came up out of the darkness, up out of his personal darkness, and he's just been a gift to so many and about to be a bigger gift to a lot more than that. So, Skip, we love you. We miss you. But as you can see, the ladies have come in without a problem. And, you know, we're going to talk about all of it. So, God bless your community family once again and welcome to Gang Talk. So, in tonight, we have our dear friend and expert, Miss Candy Lewis, who has been gracious enough to join us again and bring these beautiful ladies with her. Welcome, Candy.
Thank you, Sister Lita. It is my pleasure to be here. So we're excited because tonight our conversation is so needed.
Yes.
And I brought in some dynamic people. So let me take a moment to introduce my guests.
Okay.
And sitting to my left, we have a couple of the young ladies we've been mentoring. So we have Miss Miss KZ and Jada, and we've been working with them since 2011. Mm-hmm. And they are brilliant, dynamic young ladies, and they'll tell their story in a moment. And then to your left, we have Miss Gia Ali, and Miss Gia is a teacher, she is a facilitator, she is an advocate, and she's dynamic. So let's welcome them.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Candy, you're dynamic.
Absolutely.
Okay, and you bring the dynamic up from others that don't know they're dynamic. So it's really quite a gift to have the two young ladies here, and another gift that keeps on giving as well.
Yes.
So we're very grateful. But as you introduce yourself, we do want you, if you're comfortable, to tell your age and a little bit about your background that you feel comfortable sharing.
Okay. Well, my name is KZ Obasi. I'm 22 years old. I've been working with Candy since I was in high school, and I helped out with her teen bullying summit, and I've been working with her ever since. It's been a long road.
Wonderful.
Now, she's very shy. You're going to have to speak up because she is also an expert when it comes to research and making presentations, and she's actually gone and done presentations for us, just dynamic work. Mm-hmm. Okay, speak up. Tell everybody who you are.
You give them the exposure, Candy. You know, if it wasn't people like you, where would she get that opportunity from? So that's a gift you keep giving, and that's why we adore you.
Okay, so my name is Jada, and Casey is my younger sister. I'm 25. Like she said before, we've known Candy for a very long time, and she's been nothing but great to us. And She's pretty much been a mentor to me, and I really respect all the work that she's done and all the opportunities that have come along with working with her and knowing her. So, yeah.
Thank you.
And my name is Gia Ali. I'm an intervention specialist with Wilder's Prep Academy, which means that I go into the classroom and I support students who are either struggling or are so advanced that they're not really getting what they need out of education. So I'm a teacher. In addition, I'm a grant administrator for the Positive Results Corporation, which is how I work so closely with Candy. And I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, good. Because Candy is our bullying expert. We've had her on before from the radio to Morris Media, and we just enjoy her because she's a ball of fire with the truth about the subject she's an expert in. And the last time you were on, it was a throwdown, girl. It was a throwdown. It was like, right? Girl, just keep bringing it. And it was just outstanding. And just so much passion in the truth.
Right.
So much passion in the truth. And as I discussed with you, our subject tonight is bullying. And I've been very candid with Candy in saying that as a black woman in the country right now, I feel bullied from the top down, all down to the corner of my community. So these are very difficult, challenging times for us as a people that do include the bullying of others, the bullying of law enforcement, the bullying of government, the bullying of being excluded. You see, so it's a big picture. But I wanted you to talk about the symptoms of bullying. Can you speak to how it affects you? If the young ladies have something they want to discuss in that, we want to bring that all in together. So I'm going to be quiet and listen.
Okay. So thank you so much. Again, it's always an honor to be with you. And it's really important that we understand what bullying is. First off, as black people, especially as black women, we are the number one victims in the world. And I mean, hands down. There's no one that is more abused, more victimized than a black woman. And that means whether it is government, schools, churches, even in the family, in the community, in schools, we are left out, we are kicked out, we are the first to wind up dead somewhere. And so bullying looks so different on so many different levels.
Yeah.
There are several reasons why people bully, and it all depends on what we're talking about. But I really honestly believe that because black women are the life givers of this world, we have to kill the life in order for other things to grow. So we don't want to see more black people, honestly. There is a big push for black people to wind up dead in this world.
Oh my God,
and there's a big push for black women to wind up dead because black women are the only people that can give birth to a black boy. And so when you look at that, there is that overwhelming violence. And then there is the systematic destruction of violence against women because we are intelligent.
Yes.
And we will fight for our lives and the lives of our family and what we believe in. And so when you look at that, there's that government abuse, and it trickles all the way down. But what's really scary is the abuse and the bullying that we give each other.
Oh my God, yes.
And as a black person, it breaks my heart when I hear little kids will bully a little black kid, and it's another black kid, and they will call them every bad name they could think of to hurt us based on our skin color. When we were the original people.
Yes.
And so in order to really bully us and to break us down, it has to be a personal attack. And so that's where the bullying all comes from.
Yes.
How can I break this person down to the lowest possible denominator?
Let me just interject a sample, because that is very telling in how it affects our ability to control that. In that there was a video on Facebook of this young kid with his dad in the park, and he's having an issue with this little white girl, his little white peer girl, and he's really kicking at her, and the father is pulling him away, trying to correct him and pull him away from that. When the girl's mother comes up and kicks that little boy, kicks him several times, and then chastises him in front of his dad about, well, you want to go around kicking, this is what it feels like. See, so she actually not only bullied and assaulted that little child, she bullied his father too. It was like a dare, like, well, what are you going to do about it?
Right.
I have the privilege. He was going after my daughter. I defended my daughter, but in my defense of my daughter, I physically assaulted your son.
Right.
And it was almost like a dare. What are you going to do, Dad?
That's what this administration has put out.
Yes.
Then what are you going to do to me?
What are you going to do?
What are you going to do? And there's really nothing, because we look at right now, there was just an article about the black lady who was bullied by the first responders, and she wasn't taken to the hospital because they thought that she was too poor because she was black, and she wound up dead. You see people all over the world. If we have another Becky or Billy or Bobby call the police on a black person because they have a coupon in CVS, or because they're barbecuing,
or just selling water, or just sitting on a stoop,
right? Or taking a nap in their a dorm, or because you may be a big black man going into your own house.
Right. Oh my God! You're talking about being rained.
Yes,
it's more than him.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it happens too often. But I want to go back to what you said. You talked about the woman kicking the man and his child.
Not the man. She kicked the child.
The child.
She kicked the child.
What we forget is that this is generational. So she's teaching her child how to behave and hurt and traumatize people of color because they are less than. And
emasculate that father in front of his own son.
And he better not do anything.
The power of another woman from another race, another culture, emasculated that man, that father, right in front of his own son.
Right.
You see, and the conflict was, how should he have responded to her?
Right.
See, now as a black woman,
she about to get the beat down. That's what she about to get.
That's what's going to happen.
Right.
But here you have this father who had his hands tied.
Right.
And he's the one that got the criticism for not beating her down, where people like me know that if he'd have raised a hand, the police would have killed him.
Absolutely.
You see? So these are the kind of bullying that we as a people need to recognize and find a way to manage that.
Right.
You see, because the one thing a bully does is he hurts our spirit. He hurts our spirit. And we are spiritually hurt as a people because we've lived through this. And you know what's so offensive about this current administration? They're reopening all those old wounds.
Yes.
All of those old wounds, as you said, Barbecue Becky and the Parking Lot Nancy and the water selling Nosy. You know, it's just a continuation. I'm sorry to go off track, but you know, I do a lot of Facebooking, and as they say, you get a lot more news through Facebook, and you do. And today I saw this god-awful video where a young African-American male, one of your peers, had a seizure on the train and became unconscious. The guy in the suit, non-black guy in the suit, drug him off the train and left him on the platform because he didn't want the train to stop.
What?
He dragged that young man off the train and left him unconscious on the platform because he didn't want the train to stop.
He needs to go to jail.
Well, this is the beauty about your group, your peer group, and these little toys.
That's right.
The young man on the train videotaped all of it.
Good.
Videotaped all of it. Had that man's face full in his camera and talked about him like a dog.
I hope they fire him.
The amazing thing about that, that video should viral, because the amazing thing about the selfishness of this man once he drugged that child off this young man off the train stopped.
Good.
It didn't move.
Good.
It became an emergency situation.
Right.
So you drug him off the train for no...
And brought more attention to the situation than what you intended for in the first place.
And all the time that this is going on, that young man is still unconscious on the ground.
Wow.
Still unconscious. Nobody came to give him aid, and when they finally did, it was like, well, don't touch him because we don't know what's wrong with him, but he was still unconscious by the end of that tape. All this time, this man took to drag him off the train. The train's still sitting right there in the same spot. This young black man is videotaping him, talking about him like a dog at the same time. And the young man out, the victim, hasn't moved. Not a. Yeah, she was completely unconscious.
And that brings up another level of bullying is recording people in their traumatic experiences. He doesn't even realize what's going on with him, but once it comes to consciousness and he gets all these notifications on his phone, that's something, he's becoming aware via social media of what happened to him. Right. And that's a level of trauma that's new in our society that has not been... How do we address that? Yes, it was good that he was videotaped because something horrible happened to him, and another person will be hopefully take responsibility for that. But on the same note, that person now has a viral video of them being traumatized.
Not a viral. Several,
right?
Because several people, and you have to wonder: did anybody pick up the phone and call 911?
Somebody eventually did, and that's the other thing too. The paramedic response was really poor. It was poor. See, when you think how long that train sat there, identify what the emergency is, so you know what the proper response should be. And there was a big delay in getting the paramedics to him. That's the part where the train failed. Train failed. And what are they going to do to this passenger that drug him off?
Right.
Probably nothing.
There should be some. And see, the laws about bullying and interfering, it's very, they're antiquated. Because, see, bullying has morphed into so much more than what it has ever been. Everybody says, oh, well, I've been bullied before. But as an older woman, the bullying that I experienced as a child is nothing compared to what our youth and young adults are experiencing today. And then, as Gia said, when you add in the fact that my incident has now been recorded maybe 100 times. And then that has been shared 100,000 times. That changes the game completely.
It does, but at the same time, there's such a gray area in here because it's a new technology, it's a new capability, and what I have given it credit for, this is our courtroom.
Right.
It has become social media has become a courtroom where we can see the justice that's due instead of waiting for it to come out of the confines of that room. You see, this is a peep into our reality. So I'm very happy that the kids are very proficient with it. It's like, pull that camera out and be a witness. You see, where in my youth, what we saw, they could dispute.
Right.
Your eyes are lying, you're lying, it wasn't all of that, and you can't prove it.
Right.
You see, so now with the camera, adding in the body camera with the law enforcement, now we actually have a third eye in it. So it may be harsh, because, the lady that kicked that young man in the park, I wanted to find her address. Yeah,
right.
Really. And get the women together and let's go have a word with her. Really.
A word or two.
And to be fair, that's the same way I felt about this slow speed lady they chased today with her little 7-year-old baby in the backseat of that car. The murder suspect. Did you see that on the news?
No, I didn't.
Okay, well, the day they had another slow speed chase in Los Angeles, this one was in our community, and It was this mother that was a murder suspect, and she had her little 7-year-old daughter in the back seat of that car with her. And when they finally got her to stop, it's like, you know, the mothers of my community need to come visit you and have a word with you and find out what's wrong here. What's wrong here?
But see, and that's a good question, because we can't ask, we can no longer ask, why did you do it?
Yeah.
But what happened?
Yeah.
Because there's always an underlying issue. We don't really know. It might look crazy to us, but that person, their mindset, we don't know what kind of trauma they experienced leading up to the event.
Yes.
You know, and then to think, okay, I killed somebody. I'm traumatized behind that.
Yeah.
I've killed somebody, and now I don't know what to do. Because why in the world would you be in a slow speed chase?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I am confused. I don't know where to go, but I got to get in this car. I got to go.
And
I
I'm
gotta
driving
go
around my neighborhood. I'm
Right.
not leaving my immediate environment because, as you said, I don't know where to go.
And that's my safe zone.
Yeah.
I need to be here, but I know I got to go, and I don't have anyone to leave my baby. I don't even want to leave my baby because I know that I'm going to be leaving my baby for a long time.
The baby's father came out and tried to get her to stop. He ended up getting arrested for interfering, but he did come to the location and try to get the baby's mother to pull over. So it's just a no-win. And to be fair to the woman they were chasing, apparently this was an ongoing woman-to-woman dispute that just went to the next level. But that it wasn't like a stranger attack. No, they had a relationship that it just went to that last extreme. And that's a conversation for maybe a show dedicated to how women we're violent against each other. And for what reason? And so you young ladies, this is your first time, and I really want you to add in this conversation, and you too.
Okay.
So I sit back and be quiet.
I'm going to sit back and be quiet, too.
Well, let's start with
Everybody
the young
knows
ones.
that's hard for me to do.
Yeah, what do you think about what we've been talking about?
Well, Candy brought up a good point about how bullying is now like even more extreme than how you grew up, because now we have cyberbullying and like the internet, and that's left on the internet like for you to see forever, and that's probably like even more intense than just like, you know, going to school, because now you have people behind a keyboard typing whatever, and like you don't know them, you don't know who it is, it could be anyone, and seeing that like being harassed on the internet, that can be traumatizing in itself as well.
Like internet trolls.
Yeah.
You
What
want
was
to add
that?
something?
What's an internet troll? Can you explain that?
internet troll.
Because some people may not know what an internet troll
Someone has
is.
a brain on it. So, internet trolls are just people who hide behind kind of like basic or private profiles. Like, it could be on like Instagram or Twitter, and you don't know who they are, but they just make it their life mission to make your life miserable. They like leave terrible comments, or they just ruin your day, I guess.
Some people call them stalkers, right?
Stalkers, yeah. They could be
Yeah.
obsessed with your life.
I like
Or-
troll
that.
better.
Troll.
Troll. The internet troll is exactly what they are, because a stalker is somebody going to follow you home.
Right.
Okay?
No,
But
not
that
necessarily.
Troll, what I'm trying to make a distinction between that physical stalker and the troll on the internet that's just looking to make nasty comments. And there, some people will friend you just to be
see
able
what
to
you're
do that
doing.
on your
Yeah.
posts.
Right. Well, and then what other people do is they may not friend you, but they'll friend all your friends,
Just to
There it
see
is.
where you are.
so they can still see. You know, we think, oh well, this stalker, this troll is following me, so I'm going to unfriend them.
Right.
But they're still friends with all your friends,
All your
so they
friends.
still have access to you,
Yes.
and we don't realize that.
Yes. Well, this is a new medium. You want to put something in here, I know.
Oh, I was just saying that an internet troll is, back in the day, it was the devil's advocate, you know, always playing the devil's advocate. But internet trolls always want to have something, they always have something additional to say to what you have to say. Even if you've been very clear and educated them in all the ways that you know how, they still say, but this. And you're like, oh, I give up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes it's just better to give up. Yeah. Sometimes people are not going to change their convictions, and you just got to let go sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes they just want to get you out of your cool zone. They just push you and push you and push you.
And that's a form of bullying.
Yes,
to get you out of your cool zone. It's like, why don't you just leave me alone? I was minding my own business, expressing my opinion, and then here you come to debate me about my opinion.
Right.
On my page.
On my page.
Right.
On my page. Yeah, that's the one.
Right.
That's the one. Come on, young girls, help us out here. Tell us how we handle this. Do I go to Snapchat and dump Facebook? What am I supposed to do?
Well, some people feel like I feel like some people put too much of their business out there, so that's how they get caught up. Sometimes it's important to just take a break from social media and, like, focus on real life, because, like, in real life, things happen. And I know a lot of people who front for the gram or front for Snapchat and that are just so invested in, like, how they look on social media. I feel like it's really important for young people to just not be so into their phones and their devices and how they look or perceived to that world.
So, devil's advocate over here.
Okay. Troll.
You're right. I'm not the troll, but I'm the devil's advocate. So, if that young person has grown up with a phone or a device, a tablet for all their life, and this is like their life. You know, kids are like fighting teachers because you took my phone away from me.
Every day.
Oh, you know that well, don't you?
Even during the summer.
What's going on
Even during the summer.
Right. So how do we tell them to put this device down? And, you know, we already know. I'm going to put it out here. Kids today, young people today, even some 20, 30-year-old people don't know how to have a conversation.
That's very true.
So I think that if I put my phone down, my 5,000 friends, my friends aren't going to like me.
Yeah.
I'm going to lose my... Cynthia, who lives in Idaho, isn't going to be my friend anymore because I haven't talked to her. Or maybe, you know, Lisa, who lives in Biswan, Thailand, I don't know where she lives, but she lives somewhere, has a problem, and I need to be talking to her.
Or Candy, who lives in Compton, who I haven't seen in 20 years, but we live 5 miles away from each other.
Right.
Won't be accessible to me for 5 minutes.
So how do we get them to be engaged and not lose their little minds?
I think you should, like, tell them to, like, live in the moment and, like, not be so attached to their phone, even though it's, like, hard because it's, like, you feel like that's your whole life. It's still, like, enjoy the moment. Like, you know, like, just be on your phone all the time, like, unplug sometimes. And I'm sure it's, like, harder for, like, the younger kids, especially because they grow up they're on their own. Like, I didn't get a phone till I was, like, 13, and kids are, like, getting their phones at, like, 9. I'm like, okay, like, so it's probably harder for them to, like, disconnect.
And some kids grew up and never got a phone until they grew old enough and bought their own. So those are my kids, but their kids are the ones you're talking about. Their children have a phone, and it's okay.
I saw a 12, 13-year-old boy riding down the street on his bicycle, and he was checking his phone.
Messages, yes.
And I'm like, it's bad enough, audience, that we're driving down the street checking our messages in the car. But this person is riding a bike. How do you do that?
You know, Montclair just enacted an ordinance that you can no longer walk in their community and be on your cell phone.
Oh,
that's how desperate it's getting.
It's dangerous.
Montclair. It is. You know, I'm sorry to say, but your generation is doing a lot of crazy things because of social media.
So, but we can't just blame it on them, because we have to talk about the parents who has said, I'm too busy to talk to my children. I'm too busy to help them with homework. I don't even know how to do that
Don't
because
know how to do their homework.
See, we had new math when I came out of school, but now the new math is new math.
What is this?
I don't even know. Nobody knows what it is.
They made 2 and 2 add up to 5 now.
Right.
Okay, and we don't know how they did it.
That's
How
that
did? Wait a
Common Core
minute.
for you.
You know, it's really easy to explain.
Yeah.
Who's smarter than a 5th grader? Maybe a 4th grader?
Yeah.
But definitely
Now.
not a parent.
No.
And so,
No,
you know,
not
as
anymore.
parents, we have to learn how to really go back and re-engage with our children, because I talk to parents all the time, and I ask every workshop I'll ask, how many of you are at home and you will pick up your phone and you will text somebody in your house?
In the next room.
Right. Okay, I do too. It's just our life today. But we got to go back to bullying.
This is why we stopped using this.
Yes.
We stopped using the telephone, talking to people. It's like, oh, let me send you a message.
Right.
And the message, when you send a message and it's written, you can't feel the inflections. You don't hear the change. You don't hear the love that is sent with that message.
Right.
All you see are some harsh words. And then everything is taken out of context. And so what could possibly be just a question now sounds like you're angry with me, or you're bullying me, or you're trying to intimidate me.
Yeah.
And that's a problem too.
I agree with you. And I wanted to get your input because it's very important that my generation hear from you, because we have been disconnected. But at your age, I'm your great-grandmother, okay? And I want you to know that I love you and I care about you, and I want you to have the great future that I was promised when I was your age if I applied myself. That's what I was told. If you want to have a great future, you have to make the personal investment for that to happen. Otherwise, you're going to be sitting on that stump. You see, so this is what raised me. And I'm curious as to what your peer group is feeling about your future, your circumstances. Are you missing anything from us that we need to provide? You use that one. You mine, okay? So you both can say something, and then I want you to get in this.
I don't know if I could speak for my entire peer group, but I can speak on like a personal, like within my personal like group of friends or like close people that I'm around. For me personally, I do like talking to like the older generation. Like I have one grandparent left, and she's Nigerian, and every time she comes to visit, I pick her brain. I ask her about everything I could possibly ask her about. And I think that a lot of young people should be that curious to know about their past, their history, where they come from, and I don't think a lot of people think that way. So I think it just depends on the way you were raised, you know, how much you value family, and if you do care about those types of things. I guess like a solution to that would just be just different programs or different groups that you, people in this generation can like meet up and talk about those type of things. Because, you know, if you don't talk about it, it's pretty much not on their mind. You know, people are more concerned with, like I said before, like stunting on the ground, or like how much money they gonna get, or who they gonna have a kid with next year. Like it's just random stuff, and they're not thinking about. Yeah, they don't think about
Who you're gonna have a kid with next year is very random.
Yeah.
Okay, but it doesn't surprise me, not at all.
Yeah, they don't think about things that, you know, can impact them on generations to come, and that's pretty much where, that's where my mindset is. Like I always think about like. Because, you know, leaving a legacy, and I don't think a lot of young people think about that anymore.
You want to add?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I feel like I really like learning, like my history, where I come from, things like that, and it's very important to me. And I also think it also starts at home too, like with like bullying and learning to treat others the way that you want to be treated. Just little things like that. And even like disconnecting, you can say like, oh, a rule, no phones at the dinner table, stuff like that, to kind of make it seem like normal and natural that you should take a break from social media. So I feel like that's also very important for like the parents to kind of encourage their kids, like, you know, like enjoy the moment.
Let me ask a question before I get you in, because I think this is real important. What would be an acceptable discipline for you? Because we can't whip you anymore, okay? Without having to call and get us arrested. So what would be acceptable? Could I take your phone and not have you go ballistic or try to shoot me if I do? I mean, you know, I'm really just trying to gauge how parents get the respect back that they deserve with trying to raise the kids in 2018. Very difficult. Lots of challenges. Lots of interferences, you know, in that process, and then to end up with our hands tied if you guys go up and just go ballistic. See, in the old days, Grandma make you go get your own switch, okay, and take all the leaves off of it before she whips you with it. Well, now we can't do that kind of stuff anymore, and so we're trying to get your attention so we can get a life lesson message through you. And what's the best? I'm looking for a best, and maybe you can help me here. How do we reach you? What does it take to get your attention to make you understand this is serious, very serious? Well, think about that for a while, and let me let you answer that.
You know, I actually run a ladies group for middle school kids at my job, and so we take the kids who they can be A students, and then there's those who are getting a fight every day, and so there's a mix, and we meet once a month and we have conversations with them that their parents should be having. So kids nowadays are not being asked, what do they like? That's such a simple thing, but we're not asking our kids, what do you like to do? If you didn't have a phone today, what would you do? And to be very honest with you, I ask my kids this all the time, and their answer, the primary answer that they give is sleep. And we
if they didn't have their phone, they just sleep.
So we have to give our, not just ask them those questions, but follow up with them and give them the opportunity to try different things, because we're like, oh, they're going to be on their phones, or they're, you know, not worrying about them, but you're not giving them an opportunity to play soccer, to know if they like soccer, or to learn how to swim if they, you know, if that's something that they might want to do. We're not giving them those opportunities, or not even giving them those opportunities, forcing them to experience those things, because for specifically my girls group, a lot of the girls will miss a week or miss a month because they didn't feel like going, and so they told their parent, oh, I don't want to go. And their parent listens to them.
Right.
That we didn't have a choice.
Right.
I didn't have a choice in what I wanted to do. I've never learned how to ride a bike, and maybe once a summer, my family would go to the beach and force me to ride a bike, and I just would cry.
Shame
because that's not what I wanted to do.
But shame on you.
But they forced me to do it.
Well, you know what? See, that's a hard job of being parents, is forcing kids that aren't familiar. Like, I'm not going to eat that spinach, but Popeye said it's going to make you strong if you do. See, and so I'm caught between that. Well, I don't like that green stuff. Yeah, but you need to eat it.
Yeah.
See, so what do I do but try to put whipped cream on it to get my child to do, as a parent, what I'm instructing. I'm training, I'm teaching, I'm raising, and these are better foods for you than McDonald's.
But see, you said something earlier that was very important, and Gia just backed it up. You asked them, what is it, what do you think? What do you think would be a good punishment? And as parents, we forget to have conversation with our children. We go back in the day, is my way or the highway, or we have too much conversation with them. And there has to be that fine median where we could say, you know what? Okay, so this is what you did today. And we have to explain it. We can't automatically assume that kids or people even understand what that conversation is about or why you're upset. So this is what you did, and this is a problem. And so now there's a problem. What do you think would be a fair solution to this or fair punishment to this? And of course, somebody's going to be like, oh, well, I don't know. Let me sit in my room for 10 minutes. Yeah. No, you know that's not a fair thing. Mm-hmm. And then we also, if we're trying to get, let's just go with the spinach. So you don't like spinach and you don't want to eat that green stuff. So how about you come in the kitchen with me and let's cook something together?
Yeah, I like that.
So we have to start really going back in the day where we were involved and engaged in conversation, and our kids did things. Like, for instance, kids don't do yard work, and they don't do housework and chores. And so we've decided that we're going to give kids everything. When I was coming up, I asked people, do you all even know what woodwork is? Mm-hmm. You know what woodwork is? No. You know what woodwork is?
Like chopping wood?
No. Okay, so when we were little, our punishment was you have to clean the walls. Mm-hmm. That's woodwork. And then not only do I have it as punishment, but like once a month, that's what we had to do. Anyway. Because how do you get the fingerprints off the wall?
Oh, yeah.
So now houses just have fingerprints everywhere.
Yeah, we just have fingerprints
because
now.
Nobody is doing the woodwork.
Right. Yeah.
But I bet you anything, your little kid want to act a fool? Give them a rag, give them some spick and span or some ammonia, and let them go in there and clean the wall. I bet you anything they'll get it right.
And they'll clear their brains, too.
Either that or the fight will start. It's one or the other. You'll get a clean wall or you'll get a fight. Mm-hmm. Because the kids nowadays are more ready to tell the parent, no, I'm not going to do that.
Well, that's because
that my generation, you never had the right to tell your parent anything like that. You don't tell your parent no. Oh, no. That stopped it, too.
Well, that's because that's how that child was raised.
Yeah. Yep.
See, as Casey said, it's how you raise your children. Now, I know, I'm not trying to say that any parent is bad because you work 2 or 3 jobs and you don't have time to really engage with your children like that. The economy is jacked up.
Yes, it is.
And we can't afford to live in a decent place and just work one job. And then if you are a single parent, there are a lot of mothers and a lot of fathers that are single parents, and they work 2 and 3 jobs. And so it's difficult to say, okay, you know what, I'm going to take time to do this. But if we want our children to be successful, if we want our children to be able to think on their own, to rationalize, and even to deal with conflict on a even keel, we've got to spend some time with them. Yeah. While we're sitting here checking our Facebook and our Instagram and Twitter, we can say, you know what, I got 10 minutes. How was your day today? Yeah. And ask those open-ended questions so that they won't be sitting up like, it's whatever.
Mm-hmm. That's part of puberty, whatever. We raised 3 kids, same house, okay, and all 3 of them eventually was like, whatever. And it's like, oh, I don't believe you're talking to me like this. Oh, my God, you're so lucky you weren't born when I was born. Because by the time we had our kids, our hands were tied, and they were allowed to voice their opinion and express themselves, and I encouraged that. And there was a time that I wish I had not. Okay, just to be honest, there was a time that I wish I had not. Because the teen years are the biggest challenge, I believe. Coming out of your childhood, going through the teen years carries so much pressure. It really does. And we lose a lot of our kids along that way, in that corridor, because they reach 17 and the male children will tell their mom, I'm going rolling with my friends and don't try to stop me.
So, you know what? I think we have to really talk to Gia about this because she works with middle school. Mm-hmm. And it really starts that 5th, 6th, 7th grade. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's where we're really losing our kids. And when we talk about bullying, the vast majority of bullying is happening in middle school.
In middle school, yes.
And when we talk about bullying, before our conversation ends, we have to also discuss this topic that for the first time in the history of the world, we're now talking about children and suicide in the same sentence because of bullying.
Children.
Children. That starts in middle school. It actually starts at home. It actually starts at home.
The bully does.
Yes. But then this violence, this it's like a heavy weight that is on kids in middle school. So what do you guys have to say about that? Gia, and then I want to hear from KZ and Jada.
You know what? I just in being an educator in general, I've experienced so many times where I've had to just grab a child and say, that's not normal. What you're experiencing, just I don't like to interfere in kids. I like them to be able to solve their own problems. But if I recognize something as unhealthy in a relationship between two children, I will pull both of them aside and say, what about this relationship makes you happy? What things lead you to gravitate towards this person? Because from what I see, I'm not sure what the answer to that question is.
Can you give us an example of what you're talking about?
I've seen just students in relation, like want to be girlfriend and girlfriend or girlfriend and boyfriend, and they are manipulative. Kids are so manipulative and deceiving and conniving, and oh my gosh.
I think they're practicing.
Yeah, they
I
are.
really do. I
Scary.
think somewhere they found the idea, if I do it kind of sideways, nobody will notice. And let me see if I can get away with it. And if I get away with it the first time, I'm going to do it again.
Yeah, I'm going
to do it again. So that's the beauty and the downside of youth. They're curious, but they're always testing. And they're testing their limits too many times with their own parents. They're testing their limits.
Ladies, what you got to say?
Go first? So I know I was bullied in middle school, and I just wanted to say that it takes like those teachers that care, those parents that care, that can pour into your child and to uplift them. Also, your minds are still young when you're in middle school, so you're able to shape and mold your mind. We just have to give kids like activities and things to do. I know that I was distracted because I had sports going on. I was in art. I was in like student government. So if you give your kids more things to do, like their mind is not focused on, who likes me, who's my friend, you give them more things to live for, I guess, at that age. And also with the whole social media thing and electronics, when you leave those things to raise your kids, they can get into anything. Like the internet is a never-ending world, and they get into all types of things. Like even the different music that they listen to and the music videos that they see have crazy images in it, and that's how they get those ideas to kind of kill themselves. I don't know any young people who just come up with that idea other than if you gave that to them or if you showed that to them. So, thankfully I was strong-minded, and I also had parents and teachers that cared about me, so that I wasn't able to do nothing crazy. But yeah, that's just what I wanted to say.
Casey?
Yeah, I was also experienced bullying in middle school. I was actually physically assaulted by another student. I was choked by another student, and it actually occurred in a classroom. It was in a math class. I was choked while one other student was like holding my hands back, so I couldn't fight back. And a lot of things happened after that. It happened so fast that I actually blacked out. Mm-hmm. And the only thing that would saved my life, I guess, was when the school bell had rang, so it was time to change classes. Mm-hmm. So what made them like stop.
Let go.
Yeah, so I don't like, and after that, a lot of things happen.
Let me ask you, were these girls?
No, it was actually 2 boys. Yeah.
Really? In what grade?
I was in middle school, so probably like 7th grade.
7th grade. That is insane. 2 young men.
And so when you think about 7th grade, we think, oh, they're 7th grade.
7th graders.
But we're talking about 12-year-olds.
Yeah.
So we have to keep that in mind because people think that, oh, you know, they're so mature. But the brain does not mature for anyone completely until about 25. And for boys, it's really about 29 or 32.
That's true. All right. And,
No
and we're
offense,
not
y'all.
going to single them out, although we
But
just
no,
did.
it's
okay.
true.
Look, we're about the truth, okay? We're about the truth. We made a laughing joke, but it doesn't change the fact that it's the truth. And I wanted to add that 12 is the age, general age when puberty starts. And actually, from personal experience, all 3 of my kids lost their minds. They just became somebody else. It's like, and I actually asked my daughter, who are you? What'd you do with my girl? I don't know you. You have changed so much, I don't recognize you. And I think a lot of parents go through that and don't see that their child has gone through some kind of change, and we don't catch it until the trouble jumps up.
Right.
And where does the trouble jump up? At school.
Right.
At school. We start getting phone calls. Your child was injured at school. Who hurt my child? Then you have to go and find out 2 boys jumped your daughter.
And Casey, what happened? Did you know? And I'm really sorry that happened to you.
Me too.
But
Very.
what was the outcome? Did the teacher or did anyone get
Anybody?
involved?
Yeah.
Well, actually, I feel like they were trying to protect the students more
The
because
boys?
they were student athletes at our
Oh.
school, so they
middle school.
so they like the teachers kind of like brushed it off, and if it wasn't for like my mother like being persistent, like you know, they keep like bullying my daughter. They were really like trying to cover it up, even when after it happened, when I had to share my like what happened to me with the administrator so they can like report it. They had us both in the same room, so they were like calling me a liar, like, oh, she's lying, like, and like they told like other students at my school that I was lying, so I was people believed them, and I was being called like all sorts of things, called a snitch, like getting tripped and stuff, like, and even after that happened to me, and so like if it like they didn't really step in, like I felt like I wasn't being protected by my school, like they were trying to protect them instead of me.
Doesn't sound like you were protected at all. And just the mere fact that you're accusing 2 young males on the school campus, and nobody's paying attention to that. You see, and what they don't understand is the school also victimized you.
Right.
They freed these young men to do that again in junior high school and in high school, and maybe when they get to college too. See, so if you don't catch a bully that would hurt you the way they did, what makes these fools that let them go think they're going to stop?
Right.
And there's so many different problems with this. First off, they should have never had their hands on her.
No,
and
never.
I know that as educator in a class, there's a lot going on in the class, and sometimes you can't control everything. But you didn't see this. That's a problem. That's a problem. And then because you're protecting, you know, that's a problem. And one of the things I want to share with the audience, because everyone is experiencing bullying. We get calls on a daily basis, 2-3 times a day. What do? So if someone is hurting your child, do not just have a conversation. Because conversation is called gossip. It's called hearsay. So in the eyes of the law, everything needs to be documented. You need to write down the date, the time, the place, who was involved,
Yes.
to the best of your ability.
Yes.
And then if you have witnesses, get those stories, get those testimonies, and have everything wrote down. Send, and I mean send as in email, because if you hand a letter to someone, they can say that they
no
didn't
record.
get
They
it.
didn't get it.
Right. And if you mail it, I didn't get it. But if you email it, it is a legal document that states the time that it was sent. And because it was sent to your email, by virtue of it being sent to your email,
You
There's
received
a
it.
date
you've
stamp.
received it.
Yeah.
Right.
There's a
And
date
so
stamp.
you should copy the principal, the teacher,
Yes.
the dean of students.
Everybody.
Yes.
You should
everybody.
also, if
Yeah.
you're with certain school districts, have a cluster leader, and that person reports to the superintendent of schools. Copy them. Copy the superintendent of schools. Copy the board of education. You copy everybody, and then hand deliver a copy to the police department, because you want it to be on record
Right.
that your child has been intimidated, has been harassed, their life has been threatened,
And
there's-
physically assaulted
and
here
physically
in this
assaulted,
case. Physically
and
assaulted.
that is against the law.
Yes.
I don't care how low that person is.
Yes.
If somebody puts their hands on your child,
Yeah.
then that is against the law. That is a physical assault,
It's an
and
assault.
you could be attempting to take that person's life.
That's right. That's right.
I think we tend to forget that kids are people too. And so when incidents happen in schools, I think it might be easier for you to take the children part out of it and think, if this were to happen to me on the street, what would happen? Is this something that's illegal? Would this be a conversation? Would this be an arrest? What would the ramifications be if this were something on the street? And those expectations, yes, they're children, but those expectations should be maintained throughout, because what's going to happen is that child's going to think, oh, I choked this girl in 7th grade, nothing happened to me, I'll do it again in 10th, and I'll do it again in 12th. And then I'm going to do it to my wife. I'm going to do it to my friends.
Yes.
And it's okay.
Yes.
And
Yes.
there's no legal or any ramifications as a
Yes.
result of this behavior.
No consequences.
And then the person who is experiencing that is thinking, nobody cares. I've been telling everybody, and nobody is doing anything.
Yes.
So what? I don't matter.
Yes.
So now I'm going to be depressed. I'm going to possibly
Suicidal.
be suicidal.
Look at the young
or
girls
maybe I'm
that
going
have
to
been suicidal
Right.
and carried it out, and even young boys that have been assaulted and challenged because their sexuality is undefined. And, our young people are subjected to bullies without knowing how to handle it. And I think, Candy, the most important thing you want to say before we leave, because we're out of time, is parents have to be proactive in this. I
Absolutely.
really want you to speak to the parents about that. If your child comes and tells you,
anytime your child, first off, when your child comes to you, you need to put your cell phone down and stop everything, because our children are really our future. Everything that I do for my children and for my children that I work with. And so we have to really pay attention, because actually what we've done as parents, we have taught our children that their voices don't matter. So when you tell them, shut up, sit down, don't bother me, I'm on my cell phone talking to my friend, you're telling them that they don't matter.
they don't matter.
And so when there's a real problem and they come to you, they're not going to come to you. So take a moment and ask your children every day how they're doing, and really be intentional about that. And when your child comes to you and tells you that there's a problem, pay attention and start to take action immediately. And the very first thing is, again, document everything. Don't go to the school and lose your mind, because we will. We'll go in, clap
Yeah, don't
in,
do that.
talking about what
get
I'm
banned.
gonna do. You
Can't even
gonna
pick your kid up from school
Right.
anymore.
we're going to have that coalition of mothers come visit you.
Right.
So don't do it.
It doesn't do your child any good,
No, it
and it
doesn't.
doesn't do you any good. So everything has to be documented, and then invest a little time in finding an organization that is going to support you. But more importantly, Support your children.
Yes.
Love them and put them first. Put them before your cell phone. Put them before your boo thing. Put them before your job.
Yeah.
Because if something happens, we have all seen the news where a parent has lost their child. And they will say, oh my God, if I could go back, if it could be
pay more
just
attention.
Right, I would. I would. So do that now.
Do it
and
now.
let them know how much we love you.
That's right.
How much I would do anything for my children.
Look at these beautiful
would.
girls here. How could we let anybody hurt them?
Yes.
Come on, family. How could we do that?
And
And
every
sit in
child.
silence and say, and our silence is consent. Never forget that, family. When we're silent about bullying and things like this, we're saying it's okay.
Absolutely.
As long as it doesn't bother me in my phone time.
Right.
You see, so I wish we had more time, and I'm just so enjoyed your presence and your conversation. Anytime you want to come back and expand that, we can talk about this again.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for coming. Thank you, Candy. We love you so much.
You know I love you. You know I love you.
Well, you know what?
I love you all too out there.
Yes.
Okay, because look, the Sister Girls in 2018 are about to get busy.
Right.
And
We're
you
not
really
playing.
want to
This is
be
it.
on our side.
We're not
See, 'cause we might have to go and lock up and straighten out a few
Right.
things, okay?
Right.
So I just want to thank you, ladies, for coming. Beautiful, beautiful women. Beautiful black women. I just adore you. Just beautiful. God bless your community family. Thank you for listening. And Gang Talk will be back next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.